Welcome, pretty honeys. This is Exotical Honey, and this video is titled Start Your Own Channel Now because Chrissie is giving free promo. Exoticals got Chrissie crashing out over there in her colorism space, and the exotical sector is thriving off of the free promotion. So let's get into it. Every time Chrissie does a video about exoticals, my teeny tiny exotical channel sees a bump in subscribers and views. Exoticals United is totally correct in that Chrissie is doing the marketing for us. The more Chrissie talks, the more people come over to the exotical space. And I just think that that's hilarious that she's doing unpaid branding for exoticals. But we definitely appreciate the free promo, Chrissie. Thanks for managing. Uh, Thanks for managing the marketing campaign that we didn't even ask for. We really appreciate that. So, what's so ironic about this is that Chrissie is supposed to be an advocate for uplifting unambiguous dark skinned Black women with 4C hair, but instead of actually improving her content to focus more on that, she's obsessed with what exoticals are doing. Chrissie is not creating content to help unambiguous dark-skinned Black women with 4C hair to improve their lives. She's literally focused on women who have the opposite phenotype. How is that helping unambiguous dark-skinned Black women again? We are the exoticals that she told to get out of the colorism conversation. And since we have left, our channels are now beginning to thrive thanks to the constant attention that she's been giving us. And let me tell you, Chrissie could be elevating her content. She could be leveling up mentally and providing intellectual conversations, but that's not happening. And as a result, unambiguous dark-skinned Black women are now gravitating towards exotical spaces. And I see them on Exoticals United's channel in her comment section, and they are speaking on how the content is valuable to them. And it's because the exotical space has real conversations about deeper topics, and also because the exotical space is not competing with each other. We're focused on bettering ourselves, and we're sharing strategies about psychology and privilege stacking. Meanwhile, Chrissie, again, who's supposed to be the person creating content to help unambiguous dark-skinned Black women with 4C hair, she is over there spiraling while not offering them anything to help them. And exoticals are over here sitting pretty in a pretty girls club, and we're building an entire space for Black women based on intellectualism, empowerment, and loving ourselves authentically without having to compete with anybody. And that's the thing. Chrissie always talks about competing, but exoticals are not competing with her or any other woman for that matter. We left the colorism conversation and we started building our own spaces, so we're not in competition. Whatever it is Chrissie thought she was competing with exoticals for, she can have it. We're off of whatever she's talking about. And now that we've left the conversation, what did Chrissie do? She came running over to our spaces, watching Exoticals United's content, watching the Madame Exotical Tax Collector. Shout out to her. Watching her content too. She's over here watching all of Exotical's channels and inadvertently boosting our visibility and pushing her followers over into the exotical sphere. It's a textbook case of what not to do if you're trying to hold on to power. So if you are an exotical and you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, do it. Chrissie's doing all the advertising for you, so you might as well take advantage. Sit back and create your content and watch your subscriber count grow while the colorism crybabies spiral over there. And hey, even if you are an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman with 4C hair, I can guarantee you, if you have the pretty honey mindset, the pretty girl mindset, you could probably make better content than Chrissie. Exoticals Unite pointed it out, and it's such a great point. Chrissie never encourages her followers to create their own channels. Chrissie established herself as being like the colorism, corrective promotion for dark skinned black women, like ambassador, which, in theory, that sounds really great. But in action, what content is she actually creating that's benefiting women now? What content is she creating today that is helping black women intellectually, psychologically? The content that she's creating seems to be actually very detrimental. And I'm saying this based on the comments that I've read from the unambiguous dark-skinned black women who have left her space. They spoke about how it was really detrimental to keep hearing the topics she speaks about how black women are at the bottom and black women are, have to compete harder, and just all these disadvantages to being dark skinned and disadvantages to being unambiguous. And that's really detrimental psychologically. So I'm just wondering, like, what is Chrissie creating now that you, as an unambiguous dark skinned black woman with 4C hair, can't create yourself better than her? So I encourage you to create your own content, because this is the deal. The black woman's empowerment space is evolving. The conversation topics are shifting. As Exoticals United mentioned, privilege stacking is a term that she created, and it's a concept that the Pretty Girls Club over here in the exotical sector has decided to focus on. And that is not a conversation that was being had in the black women's empowerment space, at least not on Chrissie and Paris Milan's channels. So if you are an unambiguous black woman, I think it would behoove you to capitalize on this new wave of black women who are creating content for the black women who want an elevated lifestyle mentally, who want to elevate intellectually, who want content that has more substance beyond basic competing for a man or leveling up physically only. Those things are important, of course, but in order to sustain long term, even sustain your beauty, you're going to have some intellectual knowledge on how to preserve your beauty, how to maintain a relationship with the man after you get a relationship with him. Additionally, this is something else that I wanted to bring up, just because I actually am a bit older than some of the other women in this space. I'm in my late 30s, and so I've been around in this black women's empowerment space for a while now, and I've noticed that it is mostly younger women, and so that's probably why the topics are at the level intellectually that they are, and it's just because of the lack of life experience, which there's nothing wrong with that. But because I am a little bit older, I have a bit more life experience, and I think that it's important that some of the exoticals over here also are a little bit older, like we're not in our 20s. So some of the topics that we're sharing are things that we learn from experience, and so we are just basically able to offer a bit more life wisdom. And I think that that is something that other exoticals should capitalize on. Get your exotical tax, create your channel today, as well as unambiguous black women. If you are a little bit older and you have life experience that is different than what the colorism crybabies talk about, maybe you should share that with your sisters, because these topics that are discussed in the colorism conversation online tend to be a little bit different from what actually happens in real life, from women who take control of their own destinies and don't cry about colorism, featureism, texturism. They take whatever privileges they have and they go out into the world and use a pretty privilege or intellectual privilege or creativity privilege or any of the other privileges that they are aware of. Check out Exoticals United's privilege stacking series if you haven't already. And they go out into the world and they make something of themselves. And so if you are a woman who has benefited from any of your privileges and you think that that information can benefit black women, create your channel and share your stories. We need to start talking about how we are winning out here. Even if it's small wins, it doesn't matter. Small wins add up to big wins, and it adds up to being successful in life overall. So share your small wins. Share how you used whatever privileges you have to benefit yourself, to level up in life. And I think that those are the type of topics that we should be discussing more in the Black women's empowerment space. Topics that actually describe how we are empowering ourselves, not crying about colorism or texturism or featureism. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have those discussions. Those are important to have. But for that to be the bulk of the conversations and then nobody else is talking about anything else, or even worse, when I go online and try to look for topics about other things, the people who are talking about these other things are not Black women. For me, that's a problem. I want to see Black women content creators. I want to hear from Black women content creators on all different topics. But if Black women are only like narrow focused on a handful, a set of topics, and they're not expanding their perception of their existence to focus on multifaceted aspects of life, then when I want to hear about different topics, I have to go to other people, and I could be giving those streams to a Black woman. So this is just my public service announcement, encouragement to create your channel today. Benefit from the shift that's occurring in the Black woman's psyche in social media that is having a new appetite for more substantial content, a broader range of topics to consume when they come online. Just take advantage of the new wave. And the next segment of this video is going to dive in a little bit more on how Chrissie's social climbing strategy is a failure. I want to address how the 48 laws of power are concepts that she could learn from, and how her inability to pursue more intellectual topics such as reading books like the 48 laws of power are causing her detriment. So let's dive into it. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Law number 42. So let's talk about how the Exoticals community has been executing this law flawlessly over the past few months. We've all witnessed how Chrissie and Paris Milan, the so-called shepherds of the unambiguous dark-skinned Black women's empowerment spaces, have failed at this. These shepherds have been leading very toxic colorism conversations, and these toxic conversations have been poisoning the minds of their communities with rhetoric that is very harmful to the psyche of Black women. But guess what? Exoticals have been striking down these shepherds, not physically, of course, but with our words and our content and our truth. We have been dismantling their toxic philosophies piece by piece and exposing the flaws and contradictions in what they preach. Now, what happens when you strike down the shepherd? The sheep scatter. And we're seeing this play out in real time. The very same followers who looked up to Chrissie and Paris Milan are now scattering away from these toxic content creators. And where are they going? Straight into the green, healthy, luscious pastures of exotical spaces. I see in the comment sections all the time dark-skinned Black women who are unambiguous. They were once into these conversations in colorism spaces, but they're now in Exoticals channels saying, I'm an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman, but I relate to your content so much more because of XYZ reasons. The Exoticals community has done a very good job at carrying out Law 42 in the 48 Laws of Power. We didn't just randomly strike. We struck the shepherds who are leading these toxic conversations. And as a result, their influence is crumbling. And their sheep are now finding new, healthier spaces where they can breathe without the weight of these damaging narratives holding them down. So don't be afraid to strike these toxic shepherds who are spouting these ideologies that are harmful to the mental health of Black women. Strike their toxic rhetoric right in the heart of it and dismantle it. Speak your truth. Speak strategically about how those conversations have harmed you. If you are a person who was harmed by Chrissie or Paris Milan, you may be entitled to compensation. I'm sorry, I don't mean to joke about it because it is actually a very serious topic. But I'm just saying, you know how they have those class action lawsuit commercials because there's so many people, like thousands of people who are like harmed by a product that was put out that we're told was safe for consumption or safe for use. And then, years later we find out, oh my gosh, no, it actually wasn't safe. And then like all these people get sick or injured. I feel like that's what's happened with these toxic colorism conversations. So many people have been harmed by them. So if you have been harmed by them, I think that everybody should speak out about it. If for no other reason than to show like what content would have helped you, what would you have liked to have seen instead? And I think if we speak up about what we really wanted from these, then we can create a space that actually builds what we wanted. First step is to address the problem, to acknowledge you have a problem and then address it. You know what I'm saying? And then we can start healing the problem when we know what it really is. Next. Law number 37, create compelling spectacles. And law number 39, stir up waters to catch fish. So first, I have to give credit where it's due. Exoticals United's Comment Foolery Exposed series is a perfect example of these laws being executed well. Other Exoticals are picking up this series as well and doing the very necessary work of cleaning up Black social media streets. They're drawing attention to the mess and garbage that is on our social media streets, and they are calling out the litterers and the polluters for what they are. Let's be real. Some of these people are making complete spectacles of themselves, and the Exoticals are just capitalizing on it. One really great example is Blunt Girly. Shout out to Blunt Girly. Go check out her channel, y'all. She just called out those bad built bonnet bandits who were dragging Tyla. Instead of quietly fading into the background, these built bonnet bandits are only helping Tyla trend even more by talking about her. So, Exoticals have amplified and exposed these spectacles for what they are. We've made sure that their bonnet bandit brigade messages have reached an even wider audience. And this is exactly what Law 37 talks about, creating a compelling spectacle by drawing attention to your enemy's foolishness. These bad-built bonnet bandits on TikTok are literally giving Tyla more fame and clout by hating on her. And this is why I say that haters are really just confused fans. And so we're taking all of this nonsense and flipping it and using it to our advantage. This brings me to law number 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. We are drawing attention to how wild it is that these toxic colorism spaces are basically just an ocean infested with negativity. More and more people are swimming over to the exotical space for safety. Every day, more and more exotical channels are increasing and hitting new milestones and catching more fish. And this is exactly how we're using law number 39 to our advantage. It's working beautifully too. I think that this is a great short analysis of how the 48 laws of power can be executed well, as well as a case study on how not to fail at utilizing your power. Because Chrissie and Paris Milan do have a certain degree of power, but they don't seem to be using it very well. And I think that the exotical space is a great safe haven for women who want to learn how to actually move in this world, owning your power. Isn't that what the Black women's empowerment space was supposed to be about to begin with? What do you all think? Drop your comments below and stay pretty, honeys.